Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ruka Kodash. My double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone GMS, who taught me this truth, which is the 100% truth. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect spread around the four corners of the earth, pushing this gospel in all truth and sincerity in these last days. Shalom also to the few Aquats who are sincerely seeking this truth. It's the brother YASHARAHLA from the GMS Italy camp, and I just wanted to do a lesson on this topic, the untold origin of the Caucasian race. Hopefully it's going to be edifying through the spirit. So in order to go into the history of the Caucasian race, which is also known as the so-called white man race, we need to speak about someone who is Kagambulan, as you can see. Now, let's quickly go to Wikipedia. So we're just going to pick little information on Wikipedia because, as you know, Wikipedia has been tampered with, when it comes to bringing out the truth. And I have a proof of that also in this video. So it says Bulan was a Khazar king who led the conversion of the Khazars to Judaism. Okay, this is a point we should pick here. It says Bulan was a Khazar king who led the conversion of the Khazars to Judaism. So there is actually a civilization of people called the Khazars. Okay, the people called Khazars, and they had a king, Kagan, who actually led these people into Judaism. And these people are found on the map in Eastern Europe, okay, where you have modern day Ukraine, some part of Russia, So as you can see on the map right there. Now let's pick one more point here. So you can go and read all this, if you like. So he says the name Sabriel is given in the Shector Letters, roughly contemporaneous with King Joseph's letter for the Khazar king who led the conversion to Judaism. The Shector Letters also gives Sabriel at least a partial Jewish/Israel ancestry. Okay, so the point we should pick here is the Shector letter. Now, if I go into the Shector letter, it says the Shector letter is an ancient document which has been interpreted as a potential communique from an unknown Khazar author to an identified Jewish dignitary. Okay, so what you should know, what they will tell you here, if you keep reading, they'll tell you that they know only little about it. Whereas this letter, as I speak to you today, sits in Cambridge University. Okay, this letter sits in Cambridge University, and it is a very important document, a very important, archaeological find that tells you about these people, the people of the Khazars. Okay, so they purposely hide this letter because it contains a lot of information that is really going to expose who these people are. Now, this is what the letter looks like, These are what the letters looks like, They found them different scrolls, Now, let's see what it is. This is the Shector Letters. Now, it says it's found in the University of Cambridge. It says confirms they are Khazars. Okay, these are the Khazars. It says 915 AD. It says that's when they found the letter, I believe. It said descendants of Amalek, head tribe of Edom, in which we're going to get that in the Bible as well. So it says the descendants of Amalek, that's the head tribe of Edom, are actually the Khazars, okay? And these Khazars, they converted into Judaism, okay? It was found in Cairo in 1898 AD. So it says the Shector Letters are a collection of papers found in a Cairo Geniza and has a Khazar correspondence from 950 AD between Asdai ibn Sharopt, foreign secretary to the Caliph of Cordoba, and Joseph Kagan of the Khazars. It gives both an account of the Khazar conversion to Judaism and of its progress in subsequent generation, as well as details of the fall of the Khazar Empire in 969. Okay, so what you should understand here is this letters actually give a correspondence, okay, of this people, okay, and it gives a genealogy, okay, it gives some genealogy of these people, who they are. So these people are the Khazarians, okay. You should bear in mind and remember that they converted into Judaism. They were not the people, you know, they are not the real people of Israel, but they converted into that, okay. So, and it gives, you know, a timeline of all this, you know. So now let's get back to some. Now, one of those letters you can find there, which is important, you know, is, you know, it gives you the family line of these people. I told you that they come from Amalek, the head family of Edom. So you can see Amalekite princes of R1A, YDNA. So it tells you that these people come from the Amalekites. You can see Kagan, Amalek, you know, these people are Amalekites. Okay, now before we get there, I want to bring out a book that I actually read before coming into this truth, which is a book that, you know, I would recommend. The title of the book is The 13th Tribe, okay, written by Atul Koesla, in which this man actually goes deep into the history. You know, what he did was he collected historical facts, historical writing from different historians and different travelers, okay, of the past, you know, and he brought them all together in a book, you know, bringing out the fact that the people who occupy Jerusalem today, who call themselves the Jews, you know, they are actually of the origin of the Khazars, okay, which Khazars are a lineage of Amalek, of the sons of Esau, okay. Now, these are the highlights that I made while reading the book. I just wanted to share a few. So here it says a few years later, probably AD 740, the king, his court, and the military ruling class embraced the Jewish faith, and Judaism became the state religion of the Khazars. Okay, then here it says this was written before the full extent of the Holocaust was known. Okay, but that does not alter the fact that a large majority of surviving Jews in the world is of Eastern European, and thus perhaps mainly of Khazar origin. If so, this would mean that their ancestors came not from the Jordan, but from the Volga, not from Canaan, but from the Caucasus, okay, once believed to be the cradle of the Aryan race, and that genetically they are more closely related to the Hun, Uyghurs, and Magyars tribes than to the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Should this turn out to be the case, then the term anti-Semitism would become void of meaning, based on a misapprehension shared by both the killers and their victims. The story of the Khazar Empire, as it slowly emerges from the past, begins to look like the most cruel hoax which the history has ever perpetuated, and which that is very, very true, you know. Now, let's get some more. It says, a Georgian chronicle, echoing an ancient tradition, identifies them with the host of Gog and Magog, in which you know that the land in which the Russians occupy today, which some part of it used to be known as Khazaria. Okay, that land was occupied by the ancient Gog and Magog before they got there and took the land over to them, you know. And listen to what it says. It says, wild men with hideous faces and the manners of wild beasts, eaters of blood. An Armenian writer refers to the horrible multitude of Khazars with insolent, broad lashless faces and long falling hair like women. So can you see that's actually talking about the so-called white man that you see today? Okay, the so-called white man that you see today, that's the race. They call them the Caucasians, because that area that you see right there, let me just put mountain of Caucasus. Okay, that's why they are called Caucasians, you know, on map. That's why they called Caucasians, because they come from this area. Okay, and they speak only very little about this place. So you can see it's a connection of Russia, Georgia, some part of Armenia, Azerbaijan, you know, connecting to the Red Sea, Ukraine as well. So that's the area where these so-called Caucasians actually came from. Okay, now I want to read some excerpts that I kept aside. Now, before I do that, let me still get some more points that are highlighted here. It says, the Khazars and their kings are all Jews. The Bulgars and all their neighbors are subject to him. They treat him with worshipful obedience. Some are of the opinion that Gog and Magog are Khazars. So now, one point you should understand is when he speaks of Jews, he speaks of the southern tribe, which consists of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi mostly. Okay, in which you can have a little of other tribes in them, but you know the major tribes that consist of the Jews is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Okay, so these people claim that they are actually that tribe. The question is, where are the rest of the tribes? Okay, because in modern day Jewry, you know, they'll tell you that they are Jews, you know. So they are actually saying that they are of the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But what about Issachar, ASSHUR? What about Naphtali, Reuben, Gad? What about the rest of these tribes, you know? They don't tell you anything. That's because they actually embraced that. That's the creation of the religion, actually. That's how they created the religion, and they embraced it, you know. Let's read here. It says, the dreary tale always starts with a honeymoon and ends in divorce and bloodshed. In the beginning, the Jews are pampered with special charters, privileges, favors. They are a persona grata, like the court alchemist, because they alone have the secret of how to keep the wheels of the economy turning. Now that should you know, enlighten your mind to something else. These are the so-called banking families that you have today. So now this is an excerpt, you know. It says from the 13th tribe. Actually, this is someone else commenting on the book, you know. So it came up with some points, which it says, the 13th tribe proves beyond doubt that modern Jews are not biblical Israelites. Okay, now let's read from here. It says, this book traces the history of the ancient Khazar Empire, a major but almost forgotten power in Eastern Europe, which in Dark Ages became converted to Judaism. Khazaria was finally wiped out by the forces of Genghis Khan, but evidence indicates that the Khazars themselves migrated to Poland and formed the cradle of Western Jewry. The Khazars sway extend from the Black Sea to the Caspian, from the Caucasus to the Volga, and they are instrumental in stopping the Muslim onslaught against Byzantium, the eastern jaw of the gigantic pincer movement that in the west swept across North Africa and into Spain. Now, I just want to pick out some few points here. Then we are going to go to the encyclopedia to get more understanding of who these people are. Okay, it says Koesler, who is the writer of that book that I just showed you, traces most Jews back to a people called Khazars in Western Asia and Southern Russia, and links the Khazar with Gomer and Magog, grandsons of Noah through Japheth. Okay, and which is mistaken there because, you know, they actually overtook that land from those people, but they are not of that stock. These people are they're also Shemitic, you know, but they are not the real Hebrew Israelites who the promise is given to. The promise was given through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they went through Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. So the promise is not given to them. I just wanted to check out some stuffs here. I would have really loved to read everything because he actually brought out different books. Now let me read a few from there's something really interesting I brought. He said, shortly after World War I, Henry Ford, founder of the Ford Motor Company, assembled a staff of experts in Detroit to conduct research on the Eastern Jews who had been entering America in a large number since the 1880s. Ford provided the staff with several $1 million for this research, and in 1923 he published the results in a 4-volume work titled The International Jew. It was Henry Ford's conclusion that very few of these people who called themselves Jews were descendants of the Bible Israelites. Ford further proves that these Jews, using all sorts of crimes while under the cloak of being the chosen people of the Bible, were rapidly taking economic and political control of America. Okay, pay attention. In the religious field, Ford claims the Jews had secretly gained control of most Protestant seminaries and Christian book publishing houses and had been able to remove almost all criticism of Jews from Christian literature. And that's what they continue doing. They keep suppressing, you know, the truth because they actually made their way into power. That's how they made their way. And what they did was, you know, they overcame the Roman Empire, which was under the rule of Jake, you know. But all this happened because the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushai actually made these things to happen. You know, it was the time for them to rule, you know, and they got power. They infiltrate and they get into, you know, the highest ranks of society, and they do this by lying, you know, by what's the right word I'm looking for? By trickery, you know. They do it by guys, you know. These people are some slick people, man. So he says, in the religious field, Ford claimed the Jews had secretly gained control of most Protestant seminaries. I already read this. They say, in summing up these findings, Henry Ford stated the Jews are not the chosen people, though practically the entire church has succumbed to the propaganda which declares them to be so. You know, and this is the guy that actually made the Ford car, you know. So he sponsored a research on these people, and these are his findings. They say Ford's book caused a furore for a few years, but soon disappeared from the colleges, universities, and public libraries and became unobtainable at any price. You know, it says the churches continue to teach the Jews are God's chosen people, Israel. And by then, Jewish-dominated news media began to refer to Jews always as Israelites. So do you see how this thing, you know, you see how gradually, it says anyone opposing the increasing Jewish control of the nation was immediately branded anti-Semitic, and Jewish-dominated seminaries taught new ministries to quote Genesis 12:1-3, and sternly warned their flock that anyone speaking unfavorably of these people, of these Jews, would be cursed by God. Jewish control of America's society, politics, and religions continue to increase, and that's exactly what they're still doing now. If they are the people of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, if they are the people of the Bible, if you go through the book of Deuteronomy 28, there's curses that are meant to be on them. But these people, they are untouchable in the society today. You can't say anything against them. Algorithms are placed, to take off your videos, and I hope they don't take down this video really. These people are actually protected. They are in the highest strata of this society. It says in 1951, retired U.S. military intelligence officer Colonel John Beatty published a scholarly 265-page book, Iron Curtain Over America. In its collection, Beatty gave overwhelming evidence this strange race of Eastern European Jews were actually Khazar and Mongol Asiatics and had no racial ancestry in Israel at all. He then proved that by 1951, these Jews had a strange hold on American politics, on banking and credit, on all sources of news, on the entertainment industry, on America's education system, and that they were the predominant race as judges, lawyers, doctors, and in organized crime. And mind you, the word crime comes from chrism. As the apostles always teach us, it comes from chrism, and chrism is red. Now it says the Jewish news media refused to review the book. Okay, Jewish book dealers refused to handle it. Christian bookstores ignored it, and only a few thousand copies were distributed. Most Americans never heard of Iron Curtain Over America. Now, because of renewed interest, both international Jews in an abridged edition and Iron Curtain Over America had been reprinted and are available. The latest and perhaps the most succinct book on this subject is Israel's $5 trillion Secret by Colonel Curtis B. Dole, former son-in-law of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Okay, so you see, these people know there is something that these people know that they've been trying to voice out, but these people in power, this line of the Khazarians, who are actually sons of Amalek, in which we're going to get this from, trusted resources. It says, and a personal acquaintance of many high officials in the U.S. government since the 1930s, Colonel lives and works in Washington, D.C. area, and his book published in it. Okay, let's read what it says. No, it says, thou proves again from reliable sources that the Jews are not Israelites. In fact, Colonel Dow calls this masquerade as Israel, the greatest hoax of the last centuries. It should be read by every non-Jew in America. It says, you now know this false identity as Israel protects these Jews from being exposed as alien and as an anti-Americans. Read this book below, okay? So this is what you should understand. This is really interesting because these people, that is why they actually move in secrecy. That's why they have these secret societies. That's why they have, a lot of, secrecy between them, because they have this secret to maintain, to keep. That's why, they swear by blood, they take oaths. In order for you to get to certain levels in society, you need to be part of their blood, because this is the secret that, they've been hiding for a long time. Okay. So this is another source in which I'll just pick a few points here. It says, an Israeli scholar, A.N. Polyak, a Tel Aviv University professor of medieval Jewish history, quoted by Questler, states that the descendants of Khazar Jews, those who stayed where they were in Khazaria, those who emigrated to the United States and to other countries, and those who went to Israel constitute now the large majority of the world Jewry. Okay, so having read that, I am going back to. So now we understand, we have a little understanding of, the people of the Khazaria, okay, who converted to Judaism, okay, and we have the proof of the finding, okay, the archaeological finding, which is the Shector Letters, which is found in the Cambridge universities, that speaks of the conversion of these people. Let's read it again. It says, the Shector Letters are a collection of papers found in a Cairo Geneta and has a Khazar correspondence from 950 AD between Asdai ibn Sharopt, foreign secretary to the Caliph of Cordoba, and Joseph Kagan of the Khazars. It gives both an account of the Khazar conversion to Judaism and of its progress in subsequent generation, as well as details of the fall of the Khazar Empire in 969. So when the empire fell, they actually all fled down to Western Europe. Okay, and here we have, some of the family tree, the genealogy of this ruling class, in which they all come from Amalek. And now, that is the point we want to bring out a little bit. Now, I am going to get all these from very trusted resource, because there are no other stronger resources than, what do you call them, the encyclopedia. Okay, and those are the old encyclopedias, not the new ones. So what I did was, I actually got, some from this website, some encyclopedia excerpts, so I put them together, because reading like this, it's really hard for me. You can see, it says the Khazars were, these are modern encyclopedia, the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Academic American Encyclopedia Deluxe Library Edition. So I actually copied from this page and I wrote them down here. So we're going to read. It says encyclopedia, and if I remember, I'll put that link in the description box or in the comments. If anyone needs, should just write me and I'm going to drop it in the comments. It says Encyclopedia Americana 1985. It says Khazar, an ancient Turkic-speaking people who ruled a large and powerful state in the steep north of the Caucasus Mountain from the 7th century to their demise in the mid-11th century AD. In the 8th century, its political and religious head, as well as the greater part of the Khazar nobility, abandoned paganism and converted to Judaism. The Khazars are believed to be the ancestors of most Russian and Eastern European Jews. This is Encyclopedia Britannica, the 15th edition. It says, Khazars, confederation of Turkic and Iranian tribe that established a major commercial empire in the second half of the 6th century, covering the southeastern section of modern European Russia. In the middle of the 8th century, the ruling classes adopted Judaism as their religion. Now, this is the Academic American Encyclopedia, 1985. It says Ashkenazim. The Ashkenazim are one of the two major divisions of the Jews, the other being the Sephardim. Okay, Encyclopedia Americana, it says Ashkenazim, and the Ashkenazim are the Jews whose ancestors lived in German land. It was among Ashkenazi Jews that the idea of political Zionism emerged, leading ultimately to the establishment of the state of Israel in the late 1960s. Okay, and that was in 1948. Ashkenazi Jews numbered some 11 million, about 84% of the world Jewish population. It says the Jewish Encyclopedia, it says Khazars, a non-Semitic Asiatic Mongolian tribal nation who emigrated into Eastern Europe about the 1st century, who were converted as an entire nation to Judaism in the 7th century by the expanding Russian nation, which absorbed the entire Khazaria population, and who account for the presence of Eastern Europe of the great number of Yiddish-speaking Jews in Russia. Now, mind you, Yiddish, was their language, in which the modern Hebrew is actually, corrupted. It's not the original Hebrew. It's not the Lashon Kadash. This language is actually a mixture of their language, which is Yiddish, with Germanic and Slavonic languages, and they made in Macedonia, and presented you a new language, the modern Hebrew. It says the Yiddish-speaking Jews in Russia, Poland, Lithuania, Galatia, Bessarabia, and Romania. Encyclopedia Judaica, 1972. It says Khazars, a national group of the general Turkic type, independent and sovereign in Eastern Europe between the 7th and 10th century CE, current era. During part of this time, the leading Khazars professed Judaism. In spite of the negligible information of an archaeological nature, the presence of Jewish group and the impact of Jewish idea in Eastern Europe are considerable during the Middle Ages. Groups have been mentioned as migrating to Central Europe from East, often being referred to as Khazars, thus making it impossible to overlook the possibility that they originated from within the former Khazar Empire. Now, this is very funny because, these so-called scholars of today, they would speak as if they know nothing about this Khazar Empire, in which we have archaeological findings, we have everything, to go into these people and prove to you that these are the Caucasians, and these are the people that are calling themselves, these modern day Jews. They have nothing to do with that land. They all came from Khazaria. So it says, the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, the primary meaning of Ashkenaz and Ashkenazim in Hebrew is German and Germans. This may be due to the fact that the home of these ancient ancestors of the Germans is Media, which is biblical Ashkenaz. Okay, Krauss is of the opinion that in the early medieval ages, the Khazars were sometimes referred to as Ashkenazim. Okay, about 92% of all Jews, or approximately 14,500,000, are Ashkenazim. It says the Bible relates that the Khazar Ashkenaz Jews were the sons of Japheth, not Shem. But that's a misinterpretation, Okay, we know that the Japhites are the so-called Etruscans, It says, now, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood, the sons of Japheth, the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz. Therefore, the Bible proves that Ashkenaz Jews, Khazar, are not the descendants of Shem and cannot be Semites, But the point what they're trying to point you to is that these people are not, what do they call them? They are not the people of the promise. That's the point they're trying to let you know. They are not the real Hebrew Israelites, They are actually of a different stock, okay? And as I showed you, they come from the lineage of Amalek. It says the Encyclopedia Americana calls Hyrcanus a Jewish high priest in 135 to 105 BC. It says, who forced the Idumeans to become Jews. Idumea is the Greek for Edomites. The works of Josephus, relates how the Idumeans were forced to accept Judaism. Okay, so those are the Edomites. This is the work of Josephus. It's telling you how the Idumeans, which are the Edomites, how they were forced to accept Judaism. In the Bible, Esau, Edom, Mount Seir, and Idumea are interchangeable for the offspring of Esau, Jacob's twin brother. So you can see, you can find this information also in the encyclopedia. Now let's make a quick check if I'm not leaving anything behind. there is a point that I remember I got from this excerpt that I would like to share. Bear with me. Now, that's a book that I would advise anyone who wants to really understand more about, to go read. Yeah, it says, as Questler points out, Jews of our times fall into two main divisions, the Sephardim and the Ashkenazim. The Sephardi descendants of the Jews who had lived in Spain until their expulsions. These were proper real Jews, I believe, with the Muslims, okay, at the end of the 15th century, who later settled in the countries bordering on the Mediterranean, spoke a Spanish Hebrew dialect, Ladino. These were the real Hebrews, That's when the so-called Negroes, during the Dark Ages, the so-called Dark Ages, they ruled over Europe. They had a strong hold in Spain, in Italy, in England, and all parts of Europe, But later they started in the 15th century, that was the end of their rule, They were all sent out, They were expelled. Then what happened? They came in with a new type of Hebrews, with a new type of Jews, which were actually the Edomites, the Khazarians, So let's read again. It says, as Questler points out, Jews of our time fall into two main divisions, Sephardim and Ashkenazim. It says the Sephardi descendants, okay, which the Ashkenazim descendants are those whom we've been reading, who are the Khazarians, okay. Kenazim, Khazaria, it says the Sephardim descendants of the Jews who had lived in Spain until their expulsion with the Muslims at the end of the 15th century, who later settled in the countries bordering the Mediterranean, spoke a Spanish Hebrew dialect, Ladino, in which these other people, the Ashkenazim, don't do. They have a different language, which is the Yiddish. Okay, in the 1960s, the Sephardim numbered about 500,000. The Ashkenazim at the same period were about 11 million. Thus, in common parlance, Jew is practically synonymous with Ashkenazi Jew. Now, the Jews that we know today are synonymous with the Ashkenazi Jews, but not the Sephardim Jews, who were actually those that spoke the Hebrew dialect, Ladino. Okay, so having said that, let's see. I just wanted to bring out those points again, from the book. It says, a Georgian chronicle echoing an ancient tradition identifies them with the host of Gog and Magog, wild men with hideous faces and the manners of wild beasts, eaters of blood. An Armenian writer refers to the horrible multitude of Khazars with insolent, broad, lashless faces and long falling hair, like women. They have long falling hairs. They are eaters of blood. Now, who does things like this?
About 90% of my diet is raw sheep meat. I'm just somebody living in obscurity, eating my intestine smoothies in my kitchen.
Who does things like this if not the so-called man? Let me just bring it back a little bit.
Eating my intestine smoothies.
Who does things like this? Watch.
About 90% of my diet is raw sheep meat.
So you see, the spirit still, it still flows in these people, man. That's who they are. They are the Ashkenazi Jews, okay? Who they are not really Jews anyway. They come from Khazaria. Okay, they are Khazarians. So now you can see the points that I actually brought out. They're almost from the encyclopedia, if not all. And let's see if I still have something else from this place, because here you have a lot. This link actually brings together all different kinds of extracts from. You can still keep reading. Well, anyway, there is a lot to read here, man, but I can't go into everything. If not, the lesson is going to be too long. Now let's go back. So here we have more of their family lineage, okay, and you will always find Khazars, what you find out that they are actually from the lineage of Amalek, okay. They are Amalekites, in which if you go into the Bible, and you write the word Amalek, just to give you an understanding of who Amalek is. So it tells you, and Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. This is Genesis 36:12. Genesis 36:16. And you remember the sons of Amalek and sons of Esau became dukes, in which that's something that actually still cuts me. It says Duke Korah, Duke Gatan, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adam. Now I went on the internet and I wrote the word dukes, which let's try it. Let's try to see. These are the people that call themselves dukes, Let's go to Go Doc. Let's say dukes. Now if I go to images, no, dukes of the world. Let me just put it like this. I don't want to give that name of Esau. You see, it shows you all these Caucasian people, but you see, Duke of Wellington, that's the Duke of Wellington. You see, who is Edom? Duke. You see, they tell you that the dukes are the Edomites. You see, these are the sons of Esau, Duke of Edinburgh. You see, they still call themselves Duke to this date, Dukes of Bavaria, which let's see. And you see, these are all Edomites, This is actually when they got in power. Because I have some documents that I also saved, but I don't want to go into, the Duke of Westminster, You see, these are Edomites, The truth is just right there, man, So the sons of Esau became dukes, and they're actually still being called dukes till these dates. You say, then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Raphidim. Amalek is actually a perpetual enemy to Israel. They were the first people that fought with Israel when they came out of Egypt, And the Lord said unto Moses in the book of Exodus 17:14, and the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And this is a future judgment that is going to come through our Lord Savior Yahushua. You see, this is the book of Exodus 17:16. Say, for he said, because the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua had sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So we are always going to have problems with these Amalekites from generation to generation. They are our major enemies, and that's who they are. The problems that you're seeing that we're facing in this world today is all due to the Amalekites, the Edomites, not only them, all the roots of Edom, but these Amalekites are actually the ruling class, That's why they preserve their blood. They marry them amongst themselves, They have the secret societies that they don't let you get certain secrets. But all their secrets have been made bare, man. Esau is made bare. Everything is exposed, These are the Amalekites, It says in the book of Deuteronomy 25:19, says, therefore it shall be when thy Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, thy power, hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about thee in a land which the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, the power, giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. You know, we attempted during the time of King Saul, but Saul didn't blot them out. You know, it made many of them to escape. You know, so their seed is still preserved. You know, remember Ammon, the Agagite, you know, which was of the lineage of Amalek, because Agag is one of the I think the let's see, Agag. I know I didn't write it correctly. Agag. Agag. You see, and it took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, you know. So you have from that same lineage, you know, they went on, and that's where you have, you know, the lineage of Alexander, Alexander the freak, you know. So their lineage is still preserved to this day, you know. They actually went, the Most High actually, you know, that's the period of the serpent shall be locked for 1,000 years or so, you know. That was when Jake started ruling in Europe. You know, it's in the book of Revelation, but I don't want to go into that. Anyway, going back to what we were speaking about. So over here I still have more of their genealogy, you know. This is when the Shector Letters came into place that exposed these people. So you can see, it says, oh, look, the word Duke Taxony of Hungary. You see, these dukes are all, you see, they're the sons of Esau, you know. They save this they save their kingdoms for their sons. And so as you can see, this is where it is found, you know. This is Khazaria, you know. And it all started here. That's the book of Genesis 25:25. It's all started here, you know. Let's get the book of Genesis 25:25. Now, I'll read before that. I'll read from Genesis 25:23, and it says, and the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So you see, and when her days to deliver were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, Issachar, because they called him Esau, which is in the Hebrew tongue is Issachar, which means wasted away, because he had no pigmentation on his skin, you know. That's Esau right there, you know. Then if you go on through the story, you see they became enemies, you know. Esau wanted to kill Jacob because he sold his birthright, and Jacob also, you know, he tricked Esau and got his blessing, in which it was all set up by the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, you know, as in the vision that was given to not a vision actually, that that was told to Sarah, that, you know, the elder shall serve the younger. So it was all ordained by the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This was their first settlement, which is Seir, okay, Mount Seir, which they got from the Hittites, okay. And you can see their constructions and archaeology, architecture which they carry along till this day. This was the first. That's why they are called Caucasians, the cave dwellers actually. So from here they moved to the area of the Caucasus. So you can see the movement. From there they moved to the, let's say, map of Israel and Europe. So as you can see, they had a movement like this, a migration. That's Israel right there, and right at the south of Israel, I believe, you had Edom, Mount Seir. That was their first habitation. And what happened? They moved all the way to these places and dominated all these places. And this is where you have the Khazaria Empire. This is where they had the Khazaria Empire. And what did they do? Through the years, they started moving westward, and overcame all these places. That's Esau for you. These are the Edomites. Know the true history of the Caucasians. Okay, these are the cave dwellers. If you read the book of Obadiah 1:3, thou that dwellest in the cleft of the, let's see what it says. Obadiah 1:3. It says, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cleft of the rocks, of the rock, whose habitation is high, that sets in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground. So those are the Edomites, the Khazars, who later, embraced the Jewish religion. So you can see these are more photos from Mount Seir. So this is their first habitation, as I told you. Then later, when they moved to Europe, they carried all these architects and brought it down to Greece, brought it down to Rome, brought it down to Washington. So you can see it says the Edomites. So if you don't see all these things, it means you're blind. You're not meant to see it. The Edomite kingdom, they started all in Mount Seir. And you can see the same old architecture type. They brought it to Greece, they brought it to Rome, to Spain, to France, Germany, Russia, Great Britain, United States. These people, man. It's their time to rule now, and this is the end of their rulership, man. This is Esau. They went down to America as well. Still the same old people, the red-skinned people, This was Esau. The Nazi, the Russians, Esau. The Nazi, you see, they are all Esau. Edomite says nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:9. That's true. Terrorists who destroyed ancient Black Jerusalem and later enslaved you people from Africa. We are your enemies. We are here to oppress you. Yeah. Now the question is, as you can see, this is the Arc of Titus, in which they actually built in 70 AD. Okay, no, I can't remember when they built it, but they built it right after they won the conquest in 70 AD. This is when they went down to Jerusalem to steal all the things that are in Jerusalem. They think this history is going to be forgotten. They actually made a monument, commemorating their loot, their killing, their destruction that they brought on the Israelites. And this is the event that caused the Israelites to flee. The Israelites that were in the southern kingdom, the Jews, this was the event that made Israel desolate. They fled and they went to all different parts of the world, most especially West Africa and Europe. They also went down there to Africa to pick them up, take them to all different parts of the world, like US to build the United States. But United States was already occupied by the tribes of the northern tribe. You know, you find that in the book of Second Ezra. I did a lesson regarding that. I can't remember, you know. So still going, it says praying for those in poverty. Why hoarding billions of dollars is like having the cure for cancer and praying for the people to get better. And you can see these are the dukes, man. These are the sons of Esau. They're still ruling. These are Khazarians, you know. These are the basest of humans on earth that you can see. All the problems we are facing right now, thanks to these people, man. And this is what they used to do. This is what the so-called white man used to do. The Caucasian, you know, he enjoys, you know, killing people, chopping off their heads, and doing all kinds of abominable experiments. Who he is a cannibal as well. He feasts on these people. You know, that's another lesson. And that's a book that I was reading, I can't remember the title, but it speaks about how this man, you know, is a cannibal. He used to eat the slaves, you know, who are the so-called Negroes, Native Americans, and Latinos, the sons of Israel. So you can see the Rothschild emblem, the Russian emblem. These people all come from the same roots, and you should know who these people are. These people are the real sons of Esau. Those are the main children of Esau, you know. But the Most High is great because it's going to bring them down through themselves. You see, this is America, this is ancient Egypt, the Nazis, and Rome. So you see something always amongst them, you know, the eagle, which is also prophesied in the book of Obadiah, I believe. Though you set your nests on high as the eagle, I'll bring you down, you know. These are the Edomites. Okay, these are the so-called people, the dukes of Esau, you know. And these are the people occupying the land today, the holy land today, portraying themselves to be the chosen people. But would see what's going to happen anyway. This is a video you should see. It says Jewish ritual. They drink blood and suck baby's dick. Now, where in the Bible is this written? You will know that these people are an abominable people. There is no way they can be the people of the chosen of the Most High. Now watch.
A young Orthodox Jewish woman is now speaking out, claiming a local rabbi is infecting babies, making them sick. And what's worse, she says no one is doing anything to stop him. For centuries, when a Jewish baby boy is born, the ancient ritual of circumcision is performed. But in some ultra-Orthodox communities, religious leaders, known as moyals, also engage in something controversial during the bris. In a practice known as Metzitze Bepe, or just MBP, the moil actually uses his mouth to suck the blood from the infant's penis after he cuts off the foreskin. Meant to prevent infection and serve as a celebration of life, News 12 has learned the little-known whistleblower, a young Orthodox Jewish.
So as you can see, when they circumcise this baby, because they are perverse people, man. Perverse people, man. They've taken over the papacy, and you can see all different kinds of allegations on them. Children is going missing, different things, you know, because these people are devils, you know. They are devils. Now, to close the lesson, I really can't remember how I came across this video, but I downloaded it from YouTube, and this is an epic piece, you know. Let's see what it says.
Okay, this is Wikipedia. And look up the term Edom. Now, as you know, in part 1, these Americans called the Israelis Edomites. But now when you look up the term Edom, Okay? And Wikipedia, this is what I found. Okay? Now they're going to go on to break down the word Edom and Idumea and such a like. Go all the way down to the bottom, scroll all the way down. And as we told people many times before, the Edomites identify with Rome. Here, identification with Rome. Okay? Identification with Rome. Alright? So basically, the Edomites been identified with Rome. And we're going to read a little more. Okay? Go down. This is a special. This is a treat. This is show you how these devils try to trip you up.
And you can see it says remnants of Amalek right there. Remnants of Amalek. Now the funny thing is, if you go on Wikipedia and you put down this has been taken down, man. They've changed the story, you know. This has been taken down. That's why you can't trust Wikipedia for all your informations.
Because like I said in part 1, you had these so-called Christians, so-called white people, trying to claim that they're Israelites, which we just read a ton of curses, and we're gonna go on to further tear that lie down. But first, you got to see this, brothers. This is on Wikipedia under Edom, down near the bottom. Identification with Rome. Okay. Later in Jewish history, the Roman Empire came to be identified with Edom. See that? Later in Jewish history, the Roman Empire came to be identified with Edom, and specifically the remnants of Amalek, and still designate nowadays Western countries. Okay? Now, the interesting thing that I found about that is when you read it and it says Western countries, and you click on the link telling you what it is, what the Edomites are today, and it gives you Western world. And you look down, you see a map and all the blue shaded areas of places where Edomites would be today. You see that? Canada, America, Mexico, North Central South America, Southern Africa, South Africa, Australia, Europe, almost the whole of Europe. Okay? As we've been telling you people, Iceland or Greenland, or whatever it's called, Greenland I think, and Iceland, that little island there. And as we've been telling you people, and I'm going to go back just so you can see that, brothers. Alright? This is the article with Edom, identification with Rome. Later in Jewish history, the Roman Empire came to be identified with Edom, and specifically the remnants of Amalek. And as we know, and we keep bringing out, the Amalekites are those so-called Jews now, and still designate nowadays Western countries. When you click on the link, it tells you about the Western world, and it's showing you all the places where the Edomites would dwell now, as we've been telling you. And the reason why it's showing America, because the so-called white man is here. He's in Canada. Okay, he's in Mexico. He took the tribes captive, and they're the ones that played slavery in all these parts. Okay, but the Israelites, as we know, if we're gonna get into, they sailed over here from Israel. And the main thing I want you brothers to see is, he even got a little speck of blue right there. So there's Edomites in Israel, South Africa, Australia, Europe, America, Canada, North Central South America, and the Caribbean. All the places where the main Israelites, the bulk of the Israelites are. This is Edom. It's got them in captivity, okay? And we even got a map of Europe, just so you people can see it. We've been telling you. We've been telling you. This is the map of Europe, those Western world, okay? Iceland. Look at that. Norway, Sweden, Finland. Basically all of Europe. Look at that. Spain, France, Spain, Portugal. First slaves documented came from Spain. Who went into Spain? Edomites went into Spain. And they took over all these lands. Turkey, you know, Ukraine, all these lands. Look at that. And that's how we know these devils know, man. Go over here. One last time. Let's do it one more time. Identification with Rome. Later in Jewish history, the Roman Empire came to be identified with Edom, and specifically the remnants of Amalek, and still designate nowadays Western countries. When you click on the link, it takes you right to the Western countries. Okay, and you brothers can go on there, Wikipedia, type in Edom, and you can see everything shaded in blue is the lands where Edomites will be roaming and ruling today. And as we know, they are. Okay? Now.
Alright, so we're back.
So as you can see, listening to the voice, I believe it was the elder Manasseh Bar, you know. So hey, these people have nothing on the truth, man. The truth prevails. Esau can do whatever he likes, you know. He can hire different kinds of writers or whatever, you know, bringing out all kinds of stupid narratives, you know, without any background, you know, without any solid proof, you know. They have nothing to back it up, you know. So hey, I hope this lesson was edifying. You know, the so-called Khazarians, you know, who are the Caucasians, okay, they are actually the people occupying the land of Israel today, claiming to be the Jews, you know, and the real Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Native Americans, and the Latinos. Those are the real Israelites. Hopefully this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rika Kodash. My double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone GMS who taught me this truth. Shalom.